Thanks. Been on this side. So, thank you very much for coming. And a very personal thank you to my very dear friend. He's one of the greatest foodies I know. I've had several meals with him over the last 1 year in terms of work. And a very special thank you to Anjali for coming. And I know I personally requested her to come. That she is here makes a lot of difference to me. And before I move on, one part of housekeeping. I've been on the other side, and I would obviously not resist the temptation to ask him questions on the England tour. But as you know, I mean, he's too good a batsman to not leave those deliveries. However tasty they are, however good they are, he will leave those deliveries outside the off stump. So please restrict your questions to food for tonight. First question. I don't know if many people know. You've cooked for Anjali, right? I mean, it's a book on recipes. It's a book on cooking.
Well, yes, I have cooked for them. I still do sometimes. Not on regular basis. Sometimes I do cook breakfast for Sara, Arjun, and earlier it was on regular basis. Now obviously it has gone down a bit, only on special occasions. I've cooked various things, right from fish curry to prawn masala and all those things, which obviously I learned from my mother. So I don't know, the rest is up to her to give an opinion how it was.
I'll ask her later. But coming to the point that you mentioned about your mother, you know, as a 13-year-old, as a middle-class Mumbaiker to now where you are, in all the cuisines that you like, I mean, from Japanese to Thai to Lebanese to Mexican, everything. How did that happen? How did this journey happen? I mean, from a middle-class family to tasting world cuisine. That's quite a journey.
Till the age of 13 or so, it was only pure Maharashtrian food and nothing else. And then I started traveling. And the first time I went to England, which was with Kailash Gattani's Starfish Club. And we spent a month in England. And over there, we ended up staying in dormitories and various families. And then that was the first time I heard that cold chicken also is meant to be eaten. So I was not used to that, but as the time went by, I learned to deal with all these things and developed a taste for that. I think cricket was so important, and we were also excited that we would literally sometimes forget about the food, but the evening was really difficult. Sometimes there used to be, those days you could afford to eat burgers and all that, not at this stage. But with traveling and more exposure, and I was open to trying out various things. And in the last 25 years that I've traveled, I've tried from Japanese to Ethiopian to Chinese, Thai, Malaysian, all sorts of cuisine. And I've thoroughly enjoyed. I'm a big time foodie, so I appreciate good food, I appreciate good taste. And also sometimes, not always, but sometimes it's good to eat whatever you like and not think about the time.
coming from that, I mean, in one of our conversations, we've spoken first tour of Pakistan. You mentioned food to me. I mean, how was it to be suddenly exposed to, all the food which is not home food, which is alien? I mean, how did it happen? How did you get accustomed to the taste? How did you start liking? Were you always very open to food, and was it part of the growing up process?
I was always open to good food. First tour of Pakistan was a memorable one because there were times when I told Anjali that sometimes I would just have heavy breakfast, which would be sometimes keema paratha, and then have a glass of lassi and then think of dinner. Practice sessions, after that, no lunch because it was so heavy, but also at the same time delicious. So one wouldn't think of having lunch or a snack in the afternoon. But on that tour, I was only 16, so I was growing. It was a phenomenal experience because when I got back from Pakistan to Mumbai, I stood on a weighing scale, I couldn't believe myself. But even whenever we've been to Pakistan, the food has been delicious, absolutely tasty, and one has to be a little bit careful of putting on weight. When you're 16, you can afford to be.
Pakistan I can still understand, but from Pakistan to Japan, that's quite a journey. I mean, and you and Japanese food, I've seen you sort of enjoy Japanese food quite a bit. I mean, sushi and stuff. I mean, come on, that's raw fish. Where did that taste come from? I mean, that's quite interesting. And you like Japanese food quite a bit, isn't it?
I like Japanese food. Earlier it was only sushi, but now the last 3 years I've developed taste for sashimi as well. So as you said, raw fish, but it sounds a little bit difficult to digest, but it's not that bad.
I've seen, and you've gotten me into it as well. In Australia, and I came back home, and I called my wife and said, I had sushi and sashimi, and she's like, every time I've told you, you've never had it. Now that Sachin's told you, you started having it. So you've gotten me into. So when did this Japanese food thing start, and how did it start?
I think Japanese, maybe the first time I tried Japanese may have been 10, 12 years ago. But not on a regular basis, but in the last few years, definitely on a regular basis. I remember in Australia there was a stage where I ended up eating 5 Japanese meals in a row. So I appreciate good food, and then at that particular stage, if you feel like eating something, then I go for it.
2 questions, and I'm sure everybody in the audience would want to hear this. On your tours, any food experience that you recount which sort of stands out? For example, the Centurion innings ice cream, or anything that sort of stands out as a food experience, which people would love to hear. I mean, I'm sure there are several.
I thought this was quite some time ago, in 2000. We went to Zimbabwe, and we went to one of these game reserves, and we were out in the jungle, and we cooked our food. We had a beautifully lit barbecue, and we made some nice, good barbecue chicken and various other things, sausages and all those. But that experience of being in the middle of jungle and cooking your own food and just mingling around with all the teammates around was an experience. And then early morning, then went out with safari. So that whole experience was truly a memorable one.
If I remember right, after that World Cup knock against Pakistan, you guys had street food, is it right? I mean, you had street Chinese in South Africa?
Yes, immediately after that match, the whole team decided we have to, wherever we go this evening, we have to be together. It's a big day, and we need to celebrate together. And that's how we went to a place where it was literally like a street food, and we enjoyed ourselves. It was a big night, and that match was one of the most important games of that tournament.
only ice cream at the dinner break, right? Before you went out to bed?
Yeah, at lunchtime. I only had ice cream. I didn't have anything else because I had my earphones on and didn't want to listen to anyone. I knew what was needed at that particular moment. And all I did was I grabbed a huge bowl of ice cream. I finished my ice cream. I told one of the guys when the umpires walk out, please let me know. So when the umpires walked out, I just removed my headphones and I walked out to bed. So in the meanwhile, the ice cream was delicious.
The children also are foodies. I mean, have Sara and Arjun taken after you, and do they enjoy world cuisine as well?
Yeah, Sara enjoys. Arjun is not like me. He prefers the normal stuff, varan, bhat, and all those kind of things cooked at home. But Sara appreciates good food, exactly like me, Japanese, Thai, Chinese, whatever. She's a good sport that way.
You know, I know you've mentioned to me in the past about your mother's cooking. I mean, something that you just want to talk about that as something very special still?
Yeah, my mother, in fact, just a couple of days ago, my mother told me that I've written all the recipes in one book, and every now and then I tell her that you need to keep that properly because the cook at home has to know how to prepare certain things. Though she taught me a couple of things ages ago, which I experimented and made Anjali try, which wasn't too bad. Well, she says that that's the best fish curry she's had in her life. So
I'll have to ask you on that. I mean, we'll get a microphone passed and at least get you to comment on that. I'll ask you.
Some time ago, this was in I think 97 or 98, when we were in Delhi and I went to Ajay Garega's house and prepared Bengal Barka for the entire team. The team went to Ajay's place for dinner, and I had gone there earlier, about half an hour earlier, and I had prepared Bengal Barka for the whole.
So that's a lot. I mean, for 15 people to cook for 15 people is quite an ordeal.
You can experiment on there.
When you say that, I mean, how is it? I mean, I've seen you sort of get others introduced to food as well. I mean, do you think it is important that people get exposed coming from generally conservative backgrounds to actually start appreciating world cuisine?
I think it's important because if you're going to travel, then it's good that you try out different restaurants and there's so many things to be appreciated. And I remember 3 years ago I had taken Suresh Raina to a Japanese restaurant, which was his first experience. And it wasn't too bad. I don't know whether he was pretending that. But I was so excited. I said, let me introduce you to Japanese food. It's really nice. And he liked it. I'm not too sure whether he's tried Japanese food after that or not. But he's at that stage. He enjoyed the sashimi and sushi, and I also asked for a burnt garlic fried rice, so it wasn't too bad for him.
I remember you telling me about HarperCollins' experiences with food as well, which is pretty fun. In South Africa?
Yeah, we went to this restaurant called Butcher's Grill in Johannesburg, and I made him try out a few things. Because the first thing he told me on that was, "Harahake बहुत strong होना है, तगड़ा बनना है." I said, okay, fine, so let's try out different things. But that was the only meal that we had together out. Otherwise, from wherever we ordered food and all that Indian food sometimes we were together. But I think he appreciates Thai and all those type of dishes where there is a bit of spice, masala and all that. It's the taste buds.
If I can you've actually tasted world cuisine for the last 25 years. What is the most weird or odd meal that you've had? Very strange things that you've tasted which generally people won't taste, which you may have liked.
I've tried snails, which was a little bit difficult to digest. It was in garlic sauce, and I forced my wife also to try. Because I never going to eat this again. But
I can read her thing, she says it's horrible.
But yeah, it wasn't too good. I wouldn't try it again.
I'll ask a couple of questions. I know there are some questions questions from the floor because I promised him we'll keep this crisp and not let the food served for all of you get cold. So 2 final questions, then we'll take some from the floor. One, you know, how important, I mean, this journey that you've traveled, have you actually been enriched by the fact that you've sort of traveled to all different parts of the world, tasted all different types of cuisine? Does this sort of add to your life as a sports person? Does it enrich you? Like I ask why, because sort of for me this was more a survival guide. That I wanted to cook home food. Because when I felt alone or lonely, you know, this was sort of a stress buster. Does it sort of enrich you in that sense?
For me as well, I think it's really relaxing, and I would cook food because of that. You know, and it's about satisfaction also. When you prepare something and serve that to your friends, and the appreciation that you get, it's nice. Especially when you're in a big group and you go on holiday, then it's nice to try out different things and see their reaction. So, you know, there is no stress there, you know, there is no competition that my son watches a lot of these TV programs where, you know, Master Chef and all those things. So there obviously they're fighting for #1 spot. When I'm cooking there, there's no such thing. So I can just you know, be relaxed. I can enjoy it. It's really relaxing and calming, and above all, when you have great company, then it makes a special package.
Super. We've spoken for 15 minutes. We've spoken about entrees. We've spoken about the main course. We've not spoken about dessert. So what about dessert? I mean, I know you like
Anything and everything. Believe me.
But what is your
comes
favorite
to food? Right from the starters to dessert, anything and everything. That's sometimes I feel like, you know, it's occasionally it's good to be fussy when you're wanting to lose some weight. So, you know, you go to certain places and you can only get X amount of dishes to eat, and then that helps you maintain your I would say physique and the kind of physique that you want. But with me, desserts, I like Indian. We've got great quality. Different parts of India have their own specialties. I also like Western ones, like cheesecake and all these things.
One of my favorite experiences in Vienna was to go and try an apple strudel at the apple strudel factory, right? So Belgian chocolates and whatever. I mean, that sort of makes the trip interesting. But that's where I'd sort of hold off and open it up for the floor. If you could circulate a couple of microphones, I'll take the questions. But as I said, I mean, however tasty a ball you bowl, please restrict it to food. Yeah.
It's ID magazine. I would like to ask you, just the way you cook for the other associates, the other players of the Indian cricket team, which are the other players who cook for you and you have their stuff?
You think I would want to try that? No, just joking. But no, nobody has done that so far.
And what sort of food do you love the most in India? Like Rajasthan, Maharashtrian?
I think in India, obviously, it has to be my mother's food. I think it is the best because on various occasions, my mother has cooked in the recent past, I would say, prawns and fish kinds and all these things, mainly seafood. And then I've told my cook at home to better know how this is prepared. So now he knows that it's much easier.
Gautam?
That's pretty good. Batting on 59, playing a test match against Pakistan or for other junior cricketers.
I think as soon as you go back to the dressing room, maybe some carbs because you're tired, and that is when the absorption by the muscles would take place most. And then maybe a bit of protein before you go to bed, but within 45 minutes to consume carbs. This is advisable. This is what I have followed. But I would avoid. It also depends Australia, and it was really, really hot. So for 2-3 days before the match, I went on a vegetarian diet and bland food like curd rice and all these things, just to not have any spices and masalas in my system. And basically what was there from earlier matches or just to flush that out in 3 days. And then have lots and lots of coconut water and those kind of things. So you just go by gut feel. I mean, I at least do that. I felt in those conditions to have spicy food, the system wouldn't take it.
What did you have on the eve of the Mohali match in Chandigarh?
No, we were really excited, and I remember normally after a one-day match, day-night match, you can't immediately go to sleep, because you're so pumped up, especially a match like that. So we were awake for quite some time. All the guys got together and we chatted, and then took the afternoon flight to Mumbai. But I don't think, whatever was there in the dressing room, we had that mainly, I think, pasta.
I'm saying the night before the Mohali match.
Oh, the night before, I think the night before I had, if I'm not mistaken, one of those noodles. I think it was pad noodles.
Right?
Sachin?
Okay.
Hi.
Fine then.
You've obviously been to a lot of countries, you've traveled a lot, as you already know. Which country has offered you great food experiences in terms of memories, variety? Which country has given you great memories in terms of food experiences?
I think it has to be England. In England, you've got London, you've got all sorts of restaurants, right? From Ethiopian to Japanese, whatever you want. So I would say it's that.
Right?
Foodie friend of mine, because you have to exhaust 15 or 20 coupons, because you take one meal and you get one on free of that. You have to exhaust within a span of 2 months. While during those course of our eating out there, so there was one thing on the menu. It says we call the chef. It said it's your most preferred one. So what's so special about it? It says this dish is from the Caribbean, and it's the
Jamaican lamb curry.
lamb and rice thing, combination. That how you got it here? That Sachin tested that in the West Indies, and he put all the condiments and all the ingredients from the chef there and passed it on to hotel chef. I just tasted that. I think that taste still lingers on, but I have forgotten about the name of the dish. And was that true?
Yes, 100% true, because I was in Jamaica and I ordered lamb curry and rice, which was simply delicious. And I ended up eating that 4 days in a row. And then finally I also told the chef that please give me the recipe. I think this is delicious. And I can't leave Jamaica and not have that. Every time I feel like having a lot of Jamaica. So give the recipe. And he graciously gave the recipe to me, which I'm very happy about.
What is the worst ever thing that has got into your mouth and most awful experience with food?
I think spoiled seafood does the job. If you want to lose weight, you can have spoiled seafood.
Sabhi, that's it.
Hi Sachin, you have been training really hard these days. What kind of food you are having the last few days? And what are you planning to have for the next 7 days? Something. Are you sacrificing something regarding food?
Yeah, I'm obviously avoiding the fatty stuff, which you need to know when to eat and when not to eat. So maybe now this is the time. It's meant for me to follow a particular diet, which is going to help me prepare for the upcoming series. And it's not something which happens overnight. You want to follow a routine. And I try and do that. After having been around for a long time, I know exactly when I can afford to eat and when I should stay away from. So at this stage, I would just look to avoid fatty stuff.
You just mentioned Ahmedabad, that's why I asked you that that time it was March, now it should be November. Would it change your system accordingly, or you don't have the spicy food, or
Three final questions. Harini, you. Okay. Rishi, you go, then I'll. Okay, four more. Go ahead, Rishi. Yeah, you go ahead, then we'll take it. Go ahead.
I remember there was this match in ICC Champions Trophy in Nairobi in 2000 against Australia. The condition was really over. We had to play better against both teams.
I mean, I knew this would come. This is beautifully.
Just continuously, because it releases slow energy and the energy levels are maintained throughout the day, but it starts aggressive.
Wonderful.
I still have that video of that particular match, and I especially listened to that particular commentary.
Now you know what to have, so have muesli tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
Rishi, I'll come to. Yeah.
Sachin, has it any time crossed your mind that why people are vegetarian, vegan, and have you ever tried to be vegetarian? How difficult it has been?
There have been patches where I've tried being vegetarian, just like that, just to see how one feels. But it is difficult for me. I've been brought up with non-vegetarian food. Not that I have to have non-veg every meal. But sort of get used to it, and I don't mind good quality vegetarian meal as well, because I think it's delicious, above all healthy, and keeps you right. So I have done that, but not on regular basis.
One final question for you. What has been your best Maharashtrian food actually?
Again, I would say I think it's my mother's homemade food. I think that's, you can't compare that to anything else. Yeah, I like varan bhat. Whenever I'm back from long tours, something that you cannot get outside India is varan bhat. Varan bhat and a bit of ghee is not bad. A bit of nimbu on it. It's very delicious.
I'm really, so I'm running out of time. So final 2 minutes. Yes, you, Harini, and that one. That's it. Yes.
सचिन, हमको टेकिंग यू शुड से सवाल एक है 22 साल की करियर में बहुत सारी कोचिंग होते हैं जो बहुत डिफरेंट। आपसे बस ये पूछना था कि कोई ऐसा कुछ था जिसने कहा, कभी आपने पूछा हो कि ये खा लो, उसने कहा हाँ चलता है खा लो, इतना डिसिप्लिन नहीं रहा हूँ। बाकी जो 22 साल की करियर में उसने भी डोमेस्टिक या इंटरनेशनल सेकंड में आपकी
I think खाना किस तरह का आप खाते या नहीं खाते, ये I don't think कोच की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी होती है, ये प्लेयर की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी होती है। और I think अगर प्लेयर को पता है कि कौन सी चीज़ें अच्छी है और कौन सी चीज़ें नहीं अच्छी, उसी बात सॉल्व हो जाती है।
Yes, Harini?
I think along with the, I would say, maybe Zahir Khan and Ajit Agarkar are the ones, we try out different restaurants and appreciate different cuisine. But most of the guys prefer either Italian or Thai, or at the most sometimes Chinese. But I think us three and maybe Yuvraj Singh, four of us are the ones who will be trying out. With my son, I watch MasterChef, so that's the only thing that I watch.
Last question. Okay.